Hello, Big Tube. Hello, friends. Welcome to Lizzie Payne Loves Books. I'm Elizabeth, and it is time to share with you what I read in the month of October. So I finished a total of 19 books, which I know is not as many as I have been reading for most of this year and last year. But as you guys know, I've been busy selling on eBay and trying to build up an eBay business for our family. And in addition to that, I have been really drawn to watching a lot of reseller videos, and I've just been sort of, down that rabbit hole, as they say. And anyway, though, I've still been reading. I still get up every morning and do some reading, and I am excited to tell you about what I read this month. So of the 19 books, 14 of them were audiobooks and 5 of them I read in print. How they break down is there were 5 mysteries and 3 nonfiction, 4 were middle grade, 2 were YA, and all of the middle grade and YA would probably be considered science fiction, fantasy, dystopian, some of that in all of those. And then the other 5 were just other fiction. 4 were from the same series, and I mainly wanted to finish those because of an author binge and because of the Fall into Reading Challenge, because 2 of the 4 were for that challenge. So I said that I was going to compete. I said that I was going to participate in 3 different reading challenges or readathons in the month of October. One of those was the Fall into Reading Challenge, which goes all the way from September, October through to November. And in September, I finished 8 books for that challenge. For October, I only finished 7 books for the Fall into Reading Challenge, but I'm almost done with the 8th book. It's a big book. It's also one of my BookTube spin books. It's a total of 17 discs, and at the month end, I still only had 3 left. So 3 discs seems kind of a lot, except that when the whole book is 17, I'm practically at the end. So I did listen to some more of those today. I'm almost done with the, what would that be? 14. I'm almost done with the 15th disc, and then I'll just have 2 left. So I should finish the both of those by the end of the week. So I finished 7 for the Fall into Reading Challenge. So that just means by the time I finish this 8th one, I'll just have 8 left to do, and I should be able to get those done in the month of November. And the Victober readathon, I don't really go all in for the Victorian literature. It's not really what I'm interested in, but I said that I was going to read some of these Victorian mysteries, the Mrs. Jeffries series by Emily Brightwell. I had 3 to read, and I only got 1 done, and I didn't even really get it done until like 3 a.m. on the 1st of November. But I'm still counting it, so, I wanted to slide that in under the wire, as they say. And then the other one was the Wonkathon, which was a 15 prompt challenge hosted by the ladies from Killing Time with Cozies. And I got 9 books read, 9 out of the 15 challenges I completed. 2 more of them I will complete in November, and then the others I probably won't get done. If they do this again next year, I might, I don't know. If they do this again next year, then I'll work a little harder to try to get them all done. But I just couldn't get them. I couldn't get them all done. A couple of them were specific books, and I couldn't get them on audio, and I just couldn't do it. So let's go through the books, and I will tell you about what I got read. So let's start with the mysteries. I finished 2 books from the Kebab Kitchen Mystery Series by Tina Kashian. This is the series we're reading in the Killing Time with Cozies book club. I was supposed to have finished Stabbed in the Baklava in September, but I didn't get it done until into the first week of October. Then I started on One Feta in the Grave, and I still didn't get it done in time for the discussion. So I need to go back now and watch the live stream discussions. This is book 2 and book 3, and apparently some of the people in the group are not liking these. I thought they were fine. So I don't know. I'm not going to say a whole lot about them right now, but and I'm not really even sure why the some of the people in the group are not enjoying them. I think it was Leanne from Dark Roots Creation. She wrote in her review, I only finished this because it's a group read. And then Cozy Row didn't finish it at all. She got like 62% in. I finished them, and I was fine with them. I'm not super critical. I mean, you really have to have something. It has to be something major, major for me to stop reading a book or for me to hate it. Something, and for me, major is like a lot of foul language or just a lot of graphic stuff, and it didn't have either of those, so I was fine with them. Then I already mentioned the Victorian mystery. I did listen to Mrs. Jeffries Takes Stock. This is set in the Victorian era, so that's why I'm counting it for Victober, low-key. Mrs. Jeffries is the housekeeper of an inspector, and unbeknownst to him, her and the rest of the staff help him solve his mysteries, and he doesn't really know how he manages to solve all these mysteries, but somehow he miraculously manages to solve them, and it's cute. It's a fun series. And I'm not going to worry about trying to read the next two anytime soon. Since I didn't get them done in October, they can wait till next year. And the other mystery was kind of for my book club, because for November, I need to read book 14 in the Amelia Peabody series. This is book 7, I think. The Snake, the Crocodile, and the Dog. So I'm going to go ahead and skip the next 6, and I have actually already started book 14, which is the one I need to read for book club. We're meeting a week early this month because the room where we meet is unavailable for the second week of the month. So that's this Thursday. And I just started it today, and it's pretty long. It's like 17 hours or 17, almost 18 hours. So I've still got to, I figured, well, today, tomorrow, and the next day, if I at least listen to 6 hours, double speed, that's 3 hours. I should be able to get that done. Anyway, but this one is set, trying to think when, because the series goes through a pretty long span of years. So their son, Amelia, and I can't even think, they call him the father of curses, her husband, Emerson, they have a son who's still pretty young in this book. And in book 14, he's already grown and married. So, it's a big span of their life. And as I've said in an earlier time, I kind of get bogged down in the mysteries of these. I don't always understand. There's always a lot of characters, and I don't always follow the mystery, but I do follow the relationships of the characters, and that's what I enjoy the most about the Amelia Peabody series. So this is book 7, the Snake, the Crocodile, and the Dog. And the other mystery that I listened to is book 6 in the Amish Candy Shop Mysteries by Amanda Flower, Marshmallow, Malice. This was a lot of fun. I really did enjoy this, and I think I will go ahead and try to finish up this series, or at least get caught up with it. The next one is a novella, and it's a Christmas-themed novella, so I may as well, after I listen to that one, may as well go ahead and finish up the most recent one and check that series off my list. Call it done. So those are the mysteries that I read or listened to in the month of October. Sometimes when I get to talking fast, I will say the wrong month or the day or whatever, and then I go back and listen and I think, why wasn't I paying attention? So now I try to think before I speak. Okay, nonfiction. I read 3 nonfiction, all in print. So these were some of my morning reading. This I just loved. This is short stories from quilters. It's called American Patchwork, and they're true stories from quilters. They were edited by Sonia Hakala, and this made me want to go make a quilt. Now, I have made one quilt in my life. It was about 20 years ago when Emily was a baby. I did a t-shirt quilt, and I started another one, and I never finished it. I really want to get that back out, and I want to do some quilting. I have saved some t-shirts from both my girls' younger days, and I was just sorting through those boxes this past week, and just really wanting to get those out and get started on those projects for them. This was so good. I'm looking forward to sending this to my sister, and I think she will really love it as well. Then I also read 2 food-related books. The Maker's Diet by Jordan S. Rubin. This was in my TBR jar, and since I had started the Eat to Live diet, which I'm not following as closely as I should. I'm still following it, sort of, but not as well as I should. I thought, since I'm in that diet mode and that train of thought, why not read this? This was very scientific, very technical, I guess, interesting, but a little bit dry because it was so scientific. I have no doubt that this diet probably is very healthy and can not only help people with weight loss, but really he designed it to help himself heal because he had, I think, Crohn's disease, and he was I mean, he was really not doing well at all. And eventually, just through a series of events and research and everything, formulated this diet and got himself healthy. So you know, that's great. I don't think I would ever be able to follow this diet, and I'm not really wanting to, but still, it's interesting to read about different health plans and diet plans. So there was a pretty good amount of resources in the back, and a kind of a list or a glossary of essential oils and herbs and things like that. And it might be worth keeping the book just um, for that list, because that was very interesting and very eye-opening. And I would probably be interested in looking into some of the essential oils that are listed here. We have a few that we've tried with Emily for seizures and stuff. So I definitely gleaned some helpful information from it, but I'm not going to follow the diet. This is just good old Southern cooking, down home, country cooking. I thoroughly enjoyed reading this just as a book. It's fun to read. This is Fanny Flagg's original Whistle Stop Cafe cookbook. I already made the 2 different recipes of fried green tomatoes a couple of months ago. I had this checked out, and then I hung on to it, and it had to get turned back into the library. I went and checked it back out a couple weeks ago and finished actually reading it. I kind of skim read the recipes and then read all the little vignettes and the excerpts from the fried green tomatoes book. And I'm probably going to make 1 or 2 more recipes and then show you the footage that I filmed, both of my fried green tomatoes that I made a couple months ago, and then what I'm going to make while I still have the book checked out. I have this on my Christmas wish list. I showed it to my husband the other day, and I said, if y'all are thinking of Christmas ideas, this one right here, I would love to have that. Again, it doesn't fit with the Eat to Live diet at all, but that's my favorite kind of food, as you can tell. Okay, so those are the nonfiction. I had 4 middle grade books, and 2 of them are part of my author binge, so I'll do those last. And did I say how many? 4? Yeah, 4. Okay, so one of them was a reread. I listened to this on cassette tape, actually. I noticed that one of the libraries in our county had this on cassette, and my CD player decided to go out last month. So I couldn't listen to anything on CD in the house, but I have a cassette player that works fine. And so I ordered the cassettes, and I listened to this just, in between watching YouTube and when my phone was charging and stuff like that. This is a really good book. I've already talked about this in the Newbery video that I did. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. Emily's in here with me, and so sometimes she gets up and I need to make sure she's okay. So anyway, I've already talked about this. This is a Newbery winner, I think from the... is it 50s or 60s? From the 60s. And so if you want to know a little bit more about it, then check out that video. I will try to remember to put a little card up here. I have a whole playlist of the Newbery videos I've done so far, but I'll put a card up here for that particular one, Newbery winners of the 60s. And then this is a book I've been wanting to get to for a while. This was a Sunshine State book the year that I first started reading them, but I only read a few of them that year. It was Katie's 6th grade year. This is Dead City by James Ponti. He is a Florida author, and several of his books have gotten picked to be Sunshine State books, and this is one that I had just not ever read. It's not my favorite subject matter because it is about zombies, and yeah, it's about zombies and people who protect and police them. So that's not my favorite subject matter, but I really like the main character. She's a strong main character, and I think that I will go ahead and read the other 2 in the trilogy. I really have enjoyed everything I've ever read by James Ponti, so why not go ahead and why not go ahead and read everything? Okay, the other two that I read, I loved. I said I was going to binge read some Neil Shusterman this month, or in October, and that's what I did. This is one of the trilogies, the middle grade trilogies that I wanted to finish this year. I read Tesla's Attic several years ago. Again, it was one of the Sunshine State books. Maybe it was the same year that Dead City was a Sunshine State book, or it might have been the next year. I can't remember, but I loved it. It's fun, it's quirky, it's just out there, but really fun. And so I read the sequel, Edison's Alley, and then the final book is Hawking's Hallway. This is, you have to really suspend your imagination. It's definitely fantasy. And really that's about it. It's just fun. So it's the Accelerati Trilogy, and I thoroughly enjoyed them. So then the two YA books that I read were also by Neil Shusterman. I finished up another trilogy that I wanted to finish up. Not middle grade, but YA. And I had said that there were a couple of YA trilogies on my list of 12 trilogies that I wanted to finish. So I read Thunderhead and The Toll. I listened to these on audio. Actually, I listened to the others on audio as well. Really, really enjoyed them. If you've never read Scythe, you know, even if you look at it and think, oh, it's about people going around killing people, okay, it's so deep, so much deeper than that. It really does make you appreciate life. It's about a future world where death has been overcome, basically, and because the world can't sustain that many human beings, the scythes are chosen to glean people in order to keep the population down. I mean, that's it in a nutshell, but it's so, there's so much more to it than that. And I thought it was a fantastic trilogy. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It is a trilogy I would read again, and I highly recommend them. Toll was not quite as good, but still very good. Well, I'll tell you what disappointed me. We got through the whole trilogy. I think there was no foul language until literally probably the last 10 pages. Someone lets out the F word. And I'm like, why? You just got through this whole trilogy without it. You couldn't have just gotten through the entire book without that. Anyway, you know, whatever. So those are the YA books. And then I also listened to book 6 in the Beach House series by Mary Alice Monroe. This is for my Series About Series challenge. And I enjoyed this one. Probably as much as or more as some of the others, as I recall. Actually, you know what? No, let me take that back. I think I tell you, it's too many days have passed. If this is the one I'm thinking of, I really liked it for about the first 2/3, and then the last third was like, ugh, it was kind of a letdown. But still, overall, not bad. I've enjoyed the series, and I'll keep reading it. I've still got one left to read, and I may or may not save it for next year. I think I probably will save it for next year, just in case she's not done and keeps writing more. Then I'll have 2 for next year, even though it's on my Serious About Series list. And then I have 4 books here from the Miramar Bay series by Davis Bunn, and I listened to these on Hoopla. The first book I have from my shelf. The others are library books. I have been wanting to read this series because I really enjoyed the books that Davis Bunn wrote with Jeanette Oke. So because of that, I just assumed that his books were going to be Christian books. That is not necessarily the case. Now, these are clean books, but not what I would consider evangelical Christian books, which is some of you are going to like that, and some of you, might be disappointed in that. And I'll tell you, the reason I was disappointed is because this is just not what I was expecting. They're clean books. They're fine. They just didn't blow me away, and I felt like something was really lacking. Something was missing, and it was really that faith element that I was expecting to see. So it's not to say that these were bad books. They just were not what I was expecting. So by the time I got this one done, I kind of figured that the rest of these were probably going to be similar, and they were. And I kept listening, thinking, okay, maybe something is gonna, grab me, but they just didn't. But I kept reading them because I wanted to get to book 4, because look at this cover. Is that a fall cover or what? I wanted this one for the leaves on the cover prompt for the Fall Into Reading Challenge. So I went ahead and listened to book 2, which is Firefly Cove. That's a beautiful cover too. And book 3, Moondust Lake. And so, I got these done, and I thought, well, I may as well just go ahead and listen to the 5th one and be done with the series, call it done. So I've got it checked out. I haven't listened to it yet, but I probably will. If I can get to it this month in November, I will. This is The Cottage on Lighthouse Lane, and it's on Scribd. The other 4 are on Hoopla, and this one, I think all 5 of them are on Scribd. So I'll listen to this, and, just for the sake of finishing, checking it off my list. And don't get me wrong, I didn't hate them. They're good, enjoyable stories. I just was disappointed. That's about all I can say. So that is everything, I believe, that I read in the month of October. Well, I take that back. That's everything I finished. So I am still working on, I didn't even bring them in here. I'm still working on one of my books for, actually 2 of my BookTube Spin books. The Secret Keeper by Kate Morton. That's the one that's 17 discs, and I got, I'm almost done with the 15th one. So when I get that done, that will check off another BookTube Spin book and one of the prompts for Fall Into Reading. And Pigtopia. I've been talking about this book for so long. I didn't get very much read on it, but I am going to finish it in November if it kills me. It's just a hard book to read, and I end up, putting everything else in front of it. And then, by the time I get everything else read, then I'm out of reading time. So really, that's the only reason that I haven't finished it. So I've got a lot of goals for November, and I will talk about those in another video. So for now, that's all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you've read any of these books or want to read any of these books, let's chat in the comments. And I hope you're having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you. Hey, I'm back. I just got through watching the footage, and my apologies that I held up a couple of books that I didn't even say the title of, but they are going to be, I'm going to remind you of those in this last clip, because the other thing I neglected to do was talk about the prompts for Wonkathon and tell you what I read that fits each prompt. I'm not going to go over the prompts for the Fall Into Reading Challenge, since that covers 3 months, and I'll just do a wrap-up of the Fall Into Reading Challenge at the end of November. But for the Wonkathon, there were 15 prompts. The first prompt was to read a book about an eccentric character, and the one I'm going to count for that I will finish in November, but I haven't finished yet, is Pigtopia. The main character of, oh goodness, I can't even think what his name is, Jack. I think he would definitely count for an eccentric character. The second prompt is to read a book that features a competition, and the Kebab Kitchen book that I just finished, it features a sand art contest, I think. So it wasn't a huge part of the story, but it kind of opens the story and sets the tone for the book. So I'm going to count that. And this is One Feta in the Grave by Tina Kashian. And then the next prompt was to read a book with a loving grandparent. I wasn't sure what I was going to count for that, and then I realized that I had reread The Bronze Bow, which, again, my apologies, I held this up earlier. I think I got distracted by Emily and then forgot to ever say the title of this. This is by Elizabeth George Spear. It's a Newbery winner from the 60s, and this has a loving grandparent in the book. So this can count for that prompt. And if you haven't figured it out yet, the Wonkathon has prompts that have to do with the various characters from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And of course, we know that he had 4 grandparents that were in the story, at least in the movie. I didn't get to read the book. And of course, his favorite grandfather, I guess, took him through the Wonka factory. So that's the reason for that prompt. So the fourth prompt was to read The Great Glass Elevator. I did check it out. I'm not even sure where it is because it's not here. I may have already returned it to the library, or it's over there somewhere. Anyway, I didn't get a chance to read it. If I could have found it on audio, I probably would have, but I couldn't, and I just couldn't fit it in otherwise. Then the fifth prompt was to read a book about a spoiled character. Well, I mentioned earlier the Tesla's Attic trilogy, or the Accelerati trilogy. This has a girl named Petula. And every time she introduces herself, it's Petula like spatula, not Petula like petunia, or something like that. She's a mess. So I'm going to count, really either of these could count, but I think I will count Edison's Alley for that prompt. And then Hawking's Hallway is going to count for a different one in just a minute. Then the next one is to read a book with a purple cover. So I'm going to count Dead City by James Ponti. Definitely a good choice for that. The next one was to read a book featuring food. So either of the Kebab Kitchen books would count. But since I've already used one Feta in the Grave, I'm going to count Stabbed in the Baklava for that, for a book featuring food. Features a lot of Mediterranean food and hummus and all of that, and it just sounds great. Then the next one was to read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So that was the middle prompt. The bingo board was 5 across and 3 down. So it was a wonky bingo board. And to read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was the middle prompt. And I did not get it read. And I've never read it. It was published the year I was born. So one of these days I'm going to have another challenge to read a book published the year I was born. And that's going to be the one that I read. Then the next one was to read a book that features technology or TV, you know, for Mike TV. And that's what I'm going to count Hawking's Hallway for. Really, the whole Accelerati Trilogy could count for that. These are about Tesla's inventions. And we also, it features Edison and all that. So it's definitely about technology and inventions and things like that. The next book was about learning a lesson, and I think really any of the Ark of the Scythe books could count for that, so we'll just say Thunderhead for that prompt. And then Spy or Detective, so I did read 5 Cozy Mysteries, and I've already used 2 of them, and I'm using one of them for something else, so let's just count The Snake, the Crocodile, and the Dog for that trilogy, the Amelia Peabody series. And the next one I did not get done. It was to read a book featuring a German author or in a German setting, and that really stumped me. Now, you could double up, so if I had read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, I'm sure that must be, you know, that is probably set in Germany, but I didn't get either of those Charlie books read, and I didn't have anything to count for that. The next one is to read a book with gold in or on the cover or in the title. And this month I will finish that one because the Amelia Peabody book that I'm going to be reading this month, I've already started it, is the golden one.